I think I'm easily scared in real life, so it doesn't really take that much.
Stay away from my son.
He just wants a friend.
This movie started as a 5-minute short into a movie. I'm curious about what's one thing about the monster that changed between the filming of the short and this film?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff changed between the short and the feature, of course. But one of the big things was sort of the rules of the monster. You know, in the short film, because you're just trying to sort of scare people for 5 minutes, you know, there wasn't much thought put into like when you can or can't see the monster. He just kind of did cool stuff that would scare you, and it worked, luckily. But in the feature, when you're trying to stretch that for 90 minutes, you want things to be clearer. And also, I didn't want to, you know, show Larry too much early on. And so what I decided to do was make Larry a creature who you could only see through your technology. And so what that means is like he could be sitting next to you right now as we're doing this interview and you wouldn't know it. And it could make even just like an empty frame terrifying because Larry might be there sitting watching you.
I just want to be your friend.
How do you personally look at the character of Larry? To you, do you feel like he's an evil creature or kind of this guardian to Oliver?
We never talked about this on set, did we?
I don't think we really ever weighed in on one side or the other.
What do you think, John?
I go back to, you know, the fact that the origin is this kind of online storybook misunderstood monsters, and I often go back to, you know, some of the great you know, monsters, the creature from the Black Lagoon, King Kong, you know, some of the most terrifying, you know, universal horror era creatures. You know, they were just that. They were acting instinctively and impulsively. They didn't necessarily have kind of real evil impulse. And I feel like Larry shares in that, you know, that Larry doesn't think he's doing some evil thing. He's trying to play this game. He's trying to relate. He's trying to reach out. He just doesn't have he's a bit a creature, and so he doesn't have the faculty to kind of do that in a way without realizing that he's causing harm. So I think he's a misunderstood monster.
Gosh, you're really stumping me with this question because I don't feel like we ever had a discussion about it in that way. I'd be so curious to hear what Jacob, the writer-director, has to say about this one. It's a complex ending. And so maybe he intentionally kind of left it open to audience interpretation of how they feel.
I think when I'm writing or directing something, I think you can't really think about metaphor too much, or you sort of lose track of the characters, I think. Or at least I don't know how to do that. Like I think the theme and the sort of the message, if you will, of the movie sort of comes to life through making the film and through treating everything as reality. And so Larry, for me, you know, I was always treating him as a real three-dimensional but being, right? He has his own dreams, his own wants. He wants to be your friend. He's lonely, and we can all relate to that in a way, even though he's terrifying and he's a monster and I wouldn't want to be his friend. But I might be tempted because, you know, I have a lot of empathy for people who are lonely. I was a lonely kid without many friends. And I can only imagine how much technology would have sort of made that even worse for me when I was younger. But technology also does great things, right? Like we're able to have this conversation right now because of technology. So it wasn't, you know, I didn't set out to sort of make a commentary on technology so much as use it in an interesting way because it's something that is around us everywhere. I mean, it truly is ubiquitous. And if I could, you know, make a couple people, you know, terrified to turn on their phone after watching this movie, you know, I will have done my job.
Both of you have some amazing scenes with Larry the monster. And I'm curious, what did you guys do on set to create these terrifying moments?
Puppet did a lot of the work for us because it was genuinely scary. I think I'm easily scared in real life, so it doesn't really take that much.
Having this massive, terrifying puppet on set definitely helped.
Tell me what you saw, please.
His hands around my neck.
So I love the presence of SpongeBob, like throughout the movie in different ways. I'm curious how that came about and if you had to talk to Nickelodeon before putting it in.
Yeah, definitely had to talk to Nickelodeon before putting it in. I feel very grateful that they allowed us to use SpongeBob as much as we did. Because he really becomes sort of a character in the movie in a way, and has quite a close connection to both Oliver as a character and also the way, you know, Oliver and his family sort of figure out a way to communicate in a more, you know, important way toward the end of the film. You know, SpongeBob for me really came out of all of the research and interviews I did with kids with autism and autistic adults as well, and speech therapists. You know, I found very quickly that a lot of these kids, you know, found a lot of comfort in TV shows, specific shows that meant a lot to them, and that in some cases actually helped parents sort of communicate with their kids. And so I wanted something to feel sort of authentic to that world, and also, you know, SpongeBob really is a very popular show among the autistic community. And so when we approached Nickelodeon, you know, they already were aware of how much this show means to so many kids with autism. And so that connection, you know, really helped our case of getting to use the footage for the movie.
I'm curious how your experience working with Mike Flanagan on Hush may have impacted your role here, because you play an opposite character.
Sure. I mean, I love working on horror movies. I think they're so much fun, and I'm always looking for exciting directors. And you know, Mike Flanagan and Jacob Chase, I put them on kind of the same plane. They're these young, passionate, exciting horror filmmakers that are, you know, kind of pushing through and building this name for themselves. I mean, obviously, the character I play in Hush is a total bad guy. The character that I play here is has his faults, but it, you know, means well. So mostly what I just like about both films is I look for the filmmaker. I look for somebody that seems like they know what they're doing and they have something to say. And Mike and Jacob are both cut from that cloth.
I rewatched Community at the beginning of quarantine, and what really struck me was kind of all this genre bending that you guys did.
Yeah, that's so funny you said that. Yeah, so like I've done action movies, but for 1 week, or I've been in I've been in Goodfellas for 1 week. Yeah, no, it was really fun, and I think for us as a cast, it kept it so exciting and fresh because we never truly knew what we were going to do week to week. You know, I'd love to do a full paintball action film now.